Hey, hotties, it's that time of year again.
We want to tell you how thankful we are for all of your support this year. So we are having another Black Friday sale.
You got it. That's our biggest sale of the year in our shop. And you are able to take 25% off all of our digital downloads and resources for designers, except our new Pinterest for Interior Designers Masterclass.
Yeah, that one's a little bit different. But the sale dates are Monday, November 20th to November 27th. So you get Monday to Monday, a full week to grab that 25% off.
You've got it. And all you've got to do is go to shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com and use coupon code THANKFUL at checkout.
Thanks, hotties.
This episode is brought to you by Daniel House Club.
Daniel House Club simplifies the process of sourcing and purchasing by giving designers access to over 150 trade vendors in a single place.
They've saved designers over $2.5 million in purchase costs in the past year.
You'll get paid whether you send a cart to your client or you purchase directly.
And they'll help handle the order logistics.
Hotties can join Daniel House Club and save 50% off their first year of membership by going to danielhouse.club/HYDC today.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
We have some friends with us today.
Yes, absolutely. We love a good guest episode, don't we?
And this week, I don't know, have we done 2 guests before? I don't think we have.
Oh, I don't know. That might be completely new.
Not to draw this out. So today we have Heather and Steve Tankersley. They are of Tankersley Construction, and we talk about contractors a lot on here. So we thought we'd bring one on and really get their point of view. Or 2, yeah, one company. Can you guys tell us who you are and kind of a little bit about Tankersley?
Yeah, I'm Steve Tankersley, and I started this company with Heather in late 2017. Heather and I are married, and the company has evolved as we've grown, where I'm kind of in primarily a role of sales, marketing, estimating, customer acquisition, and that's my main role. And I'm also managing a couple of projects right now. Heather, why don't you talk about what you do?
Yeah. So Heather Tankersley, the other part of Tankersley Construction. So I oversee the production side of the company. So all of the, overseeing our project managers, our lead carpenters, and our production staff. So I'm actually boots on the ground, reviewing constructability, design documents, working through those with our team to ensure that we're putting work into place the way that it is designed and intended to be designed, and overseeing all the financials on the back end. So that was my job before I moved over full time. I supported TCI in the background, and I moved over full time in 2019.
And you guys are in Northern California. I know you from local designers and friends here. And where is your region that you work? Is it primarily in the Sacramento region?
Yeah, we really keep it close to Sacramento. And Heather and I, we both were in commercial construction before this. And you're in commercial construction, a lot of times it takes you all over the state. And it's a little bit why we started this company, is we want to stay hyper local. So we live in, kind of the Folsom, El Dorado County area. We try to keep in that area. So we'll tell people we'll work from, Davis, California to Auburn to Elk Grove, but really off of Highway 50 is really our bread and butter.
Yeah, keep those miles down.
The goal.
Well, it's more than just miles. I mean, it's really about being able to serve your customer, right? And so there's a lot of contractors that, we'll work all over the state. And the reality is, if you have a warranty call, you have a service call, do you really want to be driving 2 hours to go take care of a leaky faucet on a Saturday? So by keeping our projects local, we can really serve our customer and be responsive on things really quickly.
I mean, I think we've both had those different experiences with where anyone will hustle to get the project or get the job, but then maintaining it and keeping up with it is a whole other question. And even I could speak for myself, I'm spread from the northern part of LA County, sometimes to the northern part of Orange County. And they spend a half a day on the road. That whole day is gone. I can't get to anyone else, or I'm too tired to do more work on other projects that day. So I think it's really smart to have that niche that you're focused on.
Yeah.
And what does your team look like? I like that you guys have really like individual lanes that you're in, but how many folks are in your team? I know you've been growing a lot.
Yeah. So Steve has all the sales and the estimating side. And so we have an estimator, Shaun, that he works with. And then we have an office manager. We have a controller in-house. So that's kind of our in-house office staff. And then in the field, we have 4 carpenters, a production specialist, project manager, and a production manager. So really kind of these leads that are on site that, that's your person, that's your guy that's on site overseeing, making sure we're coordinating between the plumber and the electrician and who's going to rough in first and making sure that we're really following the design docs and that we're building to, all the details that we need before we close the walls, right? Like we're really, really focused on, and we do a lot of work in kind of that forefront. So having that dedicated person on site really helps make sure that we follow all those pieces and parts as we're going through the build.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of people. It does, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we have ourselves and we have 10 employees, right? So it's 12 people in the company. And a lot of people think that every contractor is kind of created the same, where, we're a company, right? You're hiring a company. You're not hiring Steve Tankersley or Heather Tankersley. You're hiring a company. And, we have an office, we have, our names on the truck. And so that's really the difference too, is when I talk to clients, talk to designers, well, you're looking for the best price. It's probably not going to be us, right? Because we have all these people in place, but that's also how we deliver the product we're delivering. I mean, we deliver very high quality work. We do multiple jobs at any given time. And we have a much higher capacity. So versus, we call them a chuck and a truck contractors. It's one guy and works with his brother or his cousin. And those are kind of hit and miss. And sometimes you find a good one and you stick with them. But they can only do 1 or 2 jobs at a time. And once they go on to the next job, good luck getting them back for anything. So that's really where, our strengths are as a company. We can do so much more and do so much more effectively.
What is the typical size or scale of the ideal Tankersley construction project?
I'll answer that. I mean, and maybe Heather has a different answer too. Right now we're currently kind of in our average job size is right around $300,000. And that typically would be, a 2,000 square foot house remodel, couple bathrooms, flooring, kitchen. That's really, where we really shine. And people will ask us, can you do my bathroom remodel, my half bathroom? Like, we'll certainly do it. And it's not that we don't want to do it. It's just we're not going to be the most effective because you don't need this big company to come in and do this little laundry remodel.
Right.
Love to do them, but we're not most effective. So when we start getting in above, well above $300,000, we just built, a $4 million house. And that's really where we shine. And that's where we're really getting lean on things and we're really being effective. So our ideal project really varies, but where it's something that is more than one room, it's a renovation, multiple rooms, or a custom house or ground up. What do you think, Heather?
I agree. Our team's we like the complex projects. We like the blow out the back of my house, add 1,500 square feet and tie it into this weird roof line and put a beam in. That's where we really shine. And I think that's our team gets amped and excited about building because some of those things might intimidate somebody else, or that's going to take me, a year to do your project. And we're looking at it. We're like, we'll be done in 6 months. We can make that happen and we can execute and do a really good job. And so I think that's really where our strengths are.
Well, yeah, because you're cutting down on those communication times where when I'm working with smaller contractors is we got to wait for so-and-so to get back to us. I mean, there's just 2 weeks sometimes between each yes or no. Like it just takes forever.
Yeah, because you have a lot of times,
totally makes sense.
A lot of times that owner is in the field, he's owner operator, they're framing, they're not checking their phone during the day. And, they don't have the back end support. So when we start getting into complicated projects, which projects generally are getting more and more complicated, especially with a designer involved, it's a lot of stuff going on. You really got to have that team in place. And so I see a lot of contractors really fail where they don't have a team on the back end. There's 1 or 2 people trying to do all this stuff. And they're trying to do $500,000 remodels. And they're going to fail because it's just too much going on. They're trying to do 3 of them at the same time.
It just adds to the stereotype. It just adds to that stereotype of, that terrible experience everybody has, right? Where it's, we did that addition project. It was terrible and it took twice as long and it was terrible, right? Like everyone has that story.
Oh, that's like what we prepare clients for is like, it's going to be longer than you think. Terrible. It's going to be more expensive than you think. It's going to feel really exhausting for a while. You're going to feel like you're just writing checks. And it's like that, that's going to happen during almost any job anyway. Like realistically.
Yeah,
stress. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the stress, the anxiety, the pressure, the timelines, and all of that gets to you. And then just, you realize a lot of people have trouble with that non-tangible exchange of, oh, I'm spending all this money, but I don't have the thing yet. So it just feels like uneven. And so you add all of that in, and we try as designers to do a good job. And I know that a lot of contractors try to explain the process, but it becomes even more obvious. Like when you're saying, if it's just the two guys who are there doing the work all day, they're there at 7, they leave at 3, they're exhausted. They want to see their families. They want to have dinner with their family. They don't want to go home and write a complicated bid.
And they're not good at computer stuff. I mean, that's not what not where their strengths are. Like the guys that are hands on, like their strengths are not in Google Docs.
And then they're chasing down other subs to get their bids on a larger job. Like that, it is a very complex operation to get all of those pieces moving together. And it's just hard when you don't have anything built in behind it. And I know a lot of contractors also struggle with the idea of, or at least I've had contractors who struggle with the idea of sort of passing that on to clients and making sure that clients understand, I can't just do all of this work for free in the hopes of a job anymore. Yeah. There's so many projects going on.
Oh.
Let me spend 4 weeks building a bid for you that's super complicated, super detailed, down to the linear foot. And then you compare me to some guy who comes in underhand because he didn't put everything in the bid and you pick them anyway. It's just painful.
How do you guys handle the bidding process?
Yeah, I mean, I can touch on that. Years ago, back, I think it was like 2019, 2020, we integrated a pre-construction process in our process. And so every job we have, and this is going to be more and more common throughout, hiring contractors throughout the country, is we have a pre-construction process. And it's not that you're paying for a bid. That's certainly part of the process. We're going to end result is a bid, but it's really to evaluate, hey, what are your design goals? What are your goals to how you're going to live? What are your budget goals? And integrate with the designer. And so every job we have, we come in and I can tell a client, within 20 minutes of talking with them of what I think their project's going to cost within plus or minus 20%. I don't have to sit there and go through this whole exercise of getting bids. If a client shows me their kitchen and they want to do their kitchen, their family room, and their bathroom, I can easily sit there and say, well, based on recent projects we've done, this is probably going to be $200,000 to $250,000. That's not really an issue. Once we establish that, we can start going in and say, okay, well, what is your budget? Is your budget 180? If it's 250, we can figure out how to make that design work. And we work hand in hand with the designer. The best projects we're involved in is when we're involved at day one before the designer starts drawing things. So we can really give some sway on that. So what I see the most challenging projects being is when a client has a designer, they have an amazing floor plan and they see all the pretty things and they're already envisioning Thanksgiving, dinner in that kitchen. They're envisioning their kids running around, and then we come in and we break the news that this is double what they really want to spend. So if we can get involved early and try to sway that ship in the right direction of, well, what are your goals? How do we hit these? And not tell the designer how to do their job, but maybe give some parameters of, okay, well, we're going to stay within a, $500 per light fixture allowance. We're going to stay within a $2,000 per countertop slab allowance, and really give something to measure against. That's the most successful project. So every job we have starts off with the pre-construction phase, and that's evaluating design, getting bids. Value engineering is what we call it, when you kind of bring things down if we have to, and examining existing conditions so we know what we're expecting things going to cost.
I've had more contractors doing that too lately, and it does lead to a more accurate and everyone's expectations are more aligned. I feel like going into the project, there isn't a sudden sticker shock when, I don't know, something changes or something's discovered down the road, because the contractor takes a little more time to figure all that stuff out in advance.
Yeah, I mean, it
makes sense. I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a big investment. I would say, each bid we do, each pre-construction process we do costs us thousands of dollars. And so to actually do it right, I always tell people,
Right.
You get what you pay for in life. If you're not paying for anything, don't be mad if your bid's not accurate. Don't be mad if they're not responsive. Don't be mad if they're taking 6 weeks to get it to you. You have no right to be upset because you haven't paid for anything. Now, if you're paying me for a service, you should be getting a result. And so you should be getting things on time, meetings, and also it gives us a little bit of a trainer of how we're going to work together. Do we answer our phone? Do we show up on time to meetings? Do we present ourselves well? Does my truck leak oil in your driveway? Like all those things you're evaluating early on. And we're interviewing our clients just as much as they're interviewing us. Hey, or is this person a good fit? Is this someone we want to be working with? And I tell clients this. They always get a little surprised. I tell them, I'm interviewing you just like you're interviewing me. And, if you come with that approach, this is a two-way street. We're both equals. I think a lot of people, get surprised by that, but that's really how you should treat your business.
I mean, I love that from a philosophical point of view to tell clients like, hey, remember, we're not paying them for any of it. Like I might steal that line of, hey, you're not paying this cabinet maker for that quote right now. Like they're doing everything for free. You're getting all the information for free, all the numbers, all their time and energy. You're not going to get paid for any of it. There's no guarantee you're actually going to hire them. It's such a almost backwards way that contracting has been done for so long of just show up in the hopes that you get a job. It's like coming out for auditions over and over and over again at like a movie studio, and you never get the part, or you get the part 1 out of every 10 times or something. And it's just painful. Eventually, contractors start deciding, hey, I can't invest that time anymore. I'm going to do quick and dirty phone calls with people where I tell them minimum jobs are $100,000. And if I don't scare you off with that, you'll keep calling me.
Is there any value of us as a standalone product? I guess my question is, do you guys so when I was in advertising, we would have a paid discovery process, sometimes with a website, for instance, which is kind of similar. Like it's like a construction kind of project. So we would go look under the hood, figure out like, oh, you've got this and this. And we would deliver a kind of report of these are the things that are broken in your site. These are the things that need to happen. And here's what we're going to do. So we would charge for that. But we would always tell the client, like, you can take that information and go shop it somewhere else because we got paid for that part of the work and we're good. Does it work like that I know probably all contractors are different, obviously, but I'm just thinking some designers are really turned off by pre-construction because they're scared of how they're going to sell that to their client. So I'm trying to figure out, is there any value that we can help?
Yeah. I mean, we, at the end of the whole pre-construction process, after we've gone through and we've done our discovery, we've done a budget, we're going to be within this range. Do we need to address, this scope? We'll sit down and we have a very candid feedback meeting with the client where we'll go through the budget. We have a very detailed proposal that, we put together. We'll look at that. That's where we kind of look at with the client, designer, the whole construction team. Do we need to pivot? Is this fit within your expectations? If they say yes, this is all the things we want you to address. Those scope letters can be anywhere from 10 to 15 pages long. Then we take that and that's what we generate and we give to our sub-trades that we utilize. And that's what we tell the client, this is your time to decide, because now we're going to go bid out the packages and confirm our number. And then at the end, we have a final proposal for them. If they do want to go at that point and say they want to compare apples to apples, they do have a very detailed, tangible scope letter that they can go to. But like we try to educate our clients and explain, we know your job, right? We've looked at it from how, in my mind, I'm already looking at your project of how are we going to tie in your roof line? What size, footing are we going to need there? Okay. I have this built out as we've made this whole process and this whole proposal. And there's a big trust factor too. I've been in your home. We've crawled around in your attic. Like there's a lot of that comes with it. And so understanding that too, like now you're going to go and engage somebody else to look at that. And are they going to look at it the same way I am? Maybe not. They'll still get to your end product. But at that point, you're really kind of coming down to this is what our cost is. And is this somebody you want to get married to and drive away in the car? And now we're tied together for a year, 2 years plus with warranty, right? Yeah. So that really, I think, establishes that.
Well, Rebecca, you mentioned that, some designers are, hesitant with getting, recommend a pre-construction process. And I think that, maybe there's been experiences where the contractor might not be doing it in the best manner forward. And I like to take a super collaborative approach with the designer. And so everything we present to the client, it's always been reviewed and determined together with the designer before we go to the client. So for example, we do a finish allowance worksheet and we'll go through every single room in the house, but we have them down to cabinet hardware allowances. And if you were a designer on our project, Rebecca, we'd send that to you first and say, hey, how much should I plug in for a slab? What should I put in here? and you're giving that feedback. It's not just us telling you what you have to spend. You're like, hey, I had in mind wallpaper in this bathroom at, $30 a square foot. Let's put that in there. And so if you're collaborative, the designers we work with love our process because it takes the anxiety of the pricing out of the designer's hands, because you guys get those questions all the time where clients like, yeah, I have a $100,000 budget and we'll do a kitchen remodel. And I think this will work. I don't know. Maybe you're not seeing the prices every day like we're seeing them. And so I know what this project's cost because that's all I do all day.
Yeah, you already have other accurate bids to look at, to compare to.
Or did the contractor put $100 faucet in for an allowance?
Yeah. And so we want to make sure we're putting in proper amounts. And so do we have a $1,500 faucet in? And, what's our goal, right? And we have all kinds of different contract structures we can do. I just got off of a proposal review meeting with a client. We're doing a cost plus fee agreement. Everything is open book. The client sees everything literally that we see. So they see our labor rates, they see our bids, they see our markup, they see every dollar we're going to make on the job. And that's one approach. And we can do that with the right client for the right project. And we have the capacity to do those kinds of different, contract structures. So, it really just comes down to being a team and making sure that our designer, us, and the client are all team. Because if one thing's out of whack, this is not going to be a good project.
No, I love that.
What % of your projects would you say you're working with just a designer?
100%. We will not do a job without a designer. Okay. We won't do it. And we would tell people this. They go, well, I'm going to design. I had a client, 5,000 foot house in Sacramento they wanted to build. It was a nice project. I think they had a $2.5 million budget. And I said, well, who's your designer? And they said, well, my wife, she can design it. So, okay, well, what does she do? What does she use for software? What's her, she has a really good eye.
Yeah.
There's 5 bathrooms in this house. You don't understand what goes into this. God. And he wasn't willing to hire a designer. And we actually walked away from the project. So, there's a lot of reasons
probably
for that.
Saved yourself a couple ulcers because of that.
We just don't.
You're then not to have to do it. What happens?
No.
Just no is the end of it.
No, I want an elevation drawing that I could go build to, and I can give it to my team and we can go build, right? I'm not figuring it out while we're flying the plane. That's not helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we build from drawings and documents. And if we're just going off of what she said or he said and what they wanted, and it's going to be wrong. And we're going to end up eating the cost of that. And so it's not make for an efficient project. We're going to have to rework. It's just going to be a nightmare. So we need to learn that.
Or you're waiting.
We won't build a doghouse without a designer. Seriously.
Can we quote you on that?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to see a doghouse design here soon.
I would love to design a doghouse.
24 goals.
Okay. Hey, Shaun, I don't know about you, but Pinterest has been on my to-do list of I got to figure out how to use it again for literally years.
It's definitely one of those things that if you've just been using it as a brain dump location, you're not using it right.
Yeah, Pinterest is not just for inspo anymore, although that's still there. It can be super strategic and actually get you new clients.
Yes. So we're sort of reframing the thought process around Pinterest with our very first Hottie Homeroom course, Pinterest for Interior Designers Masterclass.
It's a 2-parter, so you get both sessions for the same price. And if you can catch the live session, we recommend it. Otherwise, it's going to be recorded and available to watch on your own. But you also get 2 workbooks that really are going to show you the step-by-step of everything we talk about.
Yes, and we've partnered with our Pinterest expert, Leah Reiner, and she's really power-packed the courses so that way you can optimize everything that you're doing to make Pinterest work for you to drive new traffic and help generate more leads for your business.
You're not just listening to us talk about blah, blah, blah. Here's why Pinterest is great. Yes, we have an actual expert who does this day in and day out. And she's going to be showing us all the details and how-tos.
Yep, you got it. How to find trends, how to put them in captions to get people to read them. And probably the best part for me was realizing that Pinterest pins stay active for months, sometimes years longer than what the Instagram algorithm does.
And you don't have to show up and show your face like you do on Instagram. I know some of you don't want to do that. So it's a way to get yourself out there without getting yourself out there.
Exactly. So head to shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com and learn more about our Pinterest for Interior Designers Masterclass.
See you there, hotties. So what would you guys say is the most challenging part of your business? Just one.
I got to think about it. Steve, you go first.
I think I know the answer. It's customer expectations. The work itself for us, Heather and I, is not very hard. I mean, it has its challenges, but we've been doing this for a long, long time. And it's just, every human beings are all different people. And everyone has different moods and emotions and the things they fixate on, what they, are, nice people. They're just generally not nice people. They're grumpy people. We've had projects that were very difficult and the client was extremely happy. We've had projects that were like really kind of smooth and the client was frustrated with every little thing. And so dealing with the expectations, because it varies so much, is the hardest thing. And just, that's another reason why we have this pre-construction process. We can vet out those problematic clients early on. And then also maintaining a high standard, but an equal standard through our company for all our projects. And sometimes our standard of quality is much higher than our clients. And sometimes our standard quality is lower than our clients. But as long as you maintain that standard quality, you're going to do well.
Do you have other steps in place to vet clients before you get into pre-construction even? I guess, what do you ask or how do you kind of try to prepare them in those initial engagements?
Let me take that, Heather.
Yeah, that's more your and Jen.
I think, through our process, we have a lot of steps, right? And so the more steps you have and the more you kind of draw it out, but not too much, the more you're going to really vet out these clients, whether you're a designer or a contractor, more steps you have. Like we have a form on our website. It's a little bit cumbersome, but every client has to fill it out. If they won't even fill out a form, we're probably not even going to get very far in this process. So you fill out the form and then we do either an in-person or virtual meeting. We do our in-person meetings at our office. If you're not willing to come to our office first, you want me to come to your house, again, probably not going to be a good fit. So by having these steps, it sounds like kind of difficult, but you take the control of the process into your own hands and the customer's following your process, not their process. Because most contractors, you call them, they're going to answer it, they're going to jot down it, they're going to go to your house tomorrow, they're going to look at it, and then they're going to give you a bid. Us, you're going to call us, you're going to fill out a form, you're going to have a phone intake survey, you're going to come to our office, we're going to talk about it some more, and then we may go to your house, we may not, we may need pre-construction before that. And believe it or not, that whole process works out pretty well. The reason why it works out well is our clients, number one, they come to our office, they see our offices. We have nice offices, logo trucks outside, our name on the building. They know we're not going to be the cheapest guy in town just by seeing that. And then we like to have both the husband and wife there, or partners, or whoever it is, both decision makers there, and see how they interact with each other. If both partners are rude to each other, well, they're probably going to be like that to you, or one talks over another one. And so there's a lot of factors that go into that and vetting out the clients. And that's really what our primary job is vetting out the clients, not so much the work, because the work we know we can do. That's not an issue.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that, of trying to get clients into we use different things, train, car, whatever, but like we have to remain the driver in our project on the design side. And if someone's constantly trying to grab the wheel from the passenger seat or the back seat, like it's just not going to work. And we're always trying to kind of figure this out, of how to figure it out early, because sometimes they slip through in my experience. But client expectations, I was telling Heather that before we started recording, that's just my biggest issue right now. And I love that idea of just adding more steps, like I guess more hoops for them to jump through without being annoying, I guess is the trick, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of education factors that go into it too. I mean, there's a whole education of how we're going to take you through pre-construction and what that's going to look like. And now we have your whole scope and you understand how we're going to go build your job and how much it's going to cost. But now you got to go to construction, and we have a whole meeting and a 5-page document we go through about what to expect during your construction, right? It's going to be dirty. Mm-hmm. You need to secure your animals. My working hours, right? Just because, I'm working in your home doesn't mean I don't have a family. So, let's be respectful. This is how I want to be communicated to. How do you want to be communicated to? Do you want a text? Do you want a phone call? Like, again, it's just back to constantly setting that expectation to the client every single step of what they're going to see. And don't worry, we got you, but this is what might happen.
Yeah, it's a big change for us and we've spent a couple episodes talking with designers about how do we vet, what are we asking, questions we put on our forms, things like that. I think the challenge or the difference in what we're talking about here too is something that we can take from this as designers and that we've tried to get designers to kind of step into their power with is you guys are pretty clear about this is like the scale and scope of projects that we're working on. And this is just what we do. In the same sense, designers of all different levels, whether they're new or not, everyone has an idea of what I won't do anymore. So it's kind of setting that starting line right in front of those things you won't do and just say, okay, I'm no longer doing single room projects anymore, whatever it is. And I think as designers, we often approach it from a place of there's scarcity or we're not going to find it or no one will do it.
No.
If we say no, maybe there will be something bigger. But I think that tolerance level and finding that space where you stand, where you say, if they're even just marginally close to this line, they'll probably stick with me and at least get through the form or at least get through a phone call or something like that. And everyone else was never really meant to be the client anyway. You guys are pointing out it just is going to lead to frustration. You're going to eat more costs. And Rebecca and I both know that's true because we've talked about those client projects where that exactly happened. Was this person was marginal to begin with. We did it anyway, whether we saw all the red flags or not. And we ended up losing money, losing emotional energy or being frustrated or they were angry. And so it never created
therapy.
Yeah, it never created the profit you wanted. It didn't create a portfolio worthy project you wanted. It didn't create a joyous and loyal fan who was going to use good word of mouth to spread my business name all over the place either. So if I didn't get any of that, then what was the point? And we invest all that time and energy. And for you guys, you're locked in for literal years from the time it's just, whether it's a plot of dirt or whether it's a whole home remodel, it's years. So to get to the end and feel like we didn't make enough money or the project didn't turn out great, or the people hate us now, that's even more awful when you've spent all of that time into it.
Yeah. I mean, so Shaun, I think it's important to reiterate. Well, I think it's important to reiterate is if someone wants to work with you, they will do the things you want them to do. And they will fill out a form. They will come to your office and meet with you. They will follow your process if they want to work with you. And you want to attract people who want to work with you. And so if you're a new designer, a new contractor, do I recommend putting all these steps in place? Absolutely not. But you have to kind of earn your reputation to get to that point. And, a lot of designers I know, they charge for their initial consults to go to their house. I think that's awesome. I think everyone should do that. You're going to spend time and go to someone's house and to give them something, but make sure you give them something in return. Give them some tangible thing they can walk away from that they spent their money on, more than you just kind of looking and listening to their ideas. So with that pre-construction process, we do give people something tangible to walk away from. And to answer your question earlier, Rebecca, as a standalone product, it's a standalone contract with us, and it is a standalone product for the client. They actually have a physical thing they walk away with, scope of work, bids, whatever else it is. And, I really do think that, again, if someone wants to work with you, they're going to follow your process.
Yeah, I know ideally you're not giving them that pre-construction documentation and then they go shop it around. But I think it has helped like me in the past be able to just communicate why it happens, why contractors are requiring it now. And just knowing that they have the out, I guess, gets them to say yes more, even though they will most likely go forward with the person who's taken all this time that they've gotten to know that they now trust. So I do think it's just like more of a sales tactic versus anything. Unless they have a bad experience, but I haven't had that happen.
One thing that's helpful for us is, and if you're listening to this, you're in your own business, you need to realize that you're in sales and you need sales training. And there's different methods you can go through. But sales training has been transformative for our business. But it's more like listening to clients, what's their pain and how do we address their pain?
Mm-hmm. What kind of training have you done? I know you've gone through a lot. Jen tells me stuff.
Okay.
Jen learns a lot from you.
No, and when you think of sales training, you think, I need a shower after. This is like slimy, right? But, it's really, it's called Sandler training, and there's different methods. And Sandler is, it's all about an approach of just listening to your client and like asking more questions and giving answers. And so when I get on a sales call with someone, let's say it's on Zoom like this, I'll just talk to them and say, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Might be weird. And they're like, no, ask questions, right? And it's like, why are you even doing this? Why are you putting $300,000? What's your goals? And if you keep asking questions, you'll get to a point where you can start giving some answers if they want them. And I think people are really, really receptive to that, of a different approach because too many contractors, designers and whatnot, they go to clients and say, well, I've been in business for 30 years and this is my portfolio and like all the things about you. Like it doesn't help them. They want to know, how are you going to help them? Mm-hmm. And what's their pain? How are you going to solve that pain? Because I can show them a beautiful kitchen, but that doesn't help them. And all they really want is something that's, accessible for their grandmother to come and walk through or something. So the training I've done for years, is Sandler training. And it's all about asking the right questions. And there's some good books online about it. You don't spend a ton of money, but yeah.
I know a lot of designers don't like to think of themselves as salespeople. We've had these conversations before, and we totally are. I mean, we're selling ourselves, our services up front, like you're talking about, but we have to constantly be selling our ideas as well, and then physical products. And it's only sales, I think, now that I think about it. What else do we do that's not sales?
I mean, the design process itself of creating it, planning it, whatever, is the artistic, creative side of it, which, is the smallest portion of what we do. But then we have to sell the thing. You make a dress. Now you have to sell the dress to someone. You've got to put it in a beautiful store, on a mannequin, have a fashion show, get it in a magazine, advertise it. And then you got to make it. Then you got to have great salespeople in the store who go, oh my God, you look beautiful. You have to, that's all sales right there. Everything else is the sales part. And the smallest part was, here's my little sketch. Let's pick the materials. Let's put it together. Now we get someone to make it, put it on a rack. And then the rest of it is all sales in what we do.
Yeah. And then heaven forbid the client, I want to tailor the dress, or now I want it to actually fit a little different across here. So then you got to go back and like braille them back.
I want a different color.
Exactly. Yes. So you're constantly having to do that.
Or actually, I want pants.
Yeah. Can we redesign that? And they need it tomorrow.
Yeah. So one of the things that really got me intrigued when you guys did a few months ago, you had this Instagram story series about how your renovation is the most, the least expensive it's going to ever be?
Probably.
Yeah. It was like right now is the cheapest time it will ever be to do the job.
Yeah.
And I know you got quoted in Business of Home about it. And it was really interesting hearing, because I hear it a lot still of clients saying, I'm going to wait until the market comes down or until prices come down. And you kind of laid out this idea of how that isn't happening. Do you have any more thoughts you want to share or explain it better than I just did?
I mean, Heather, are you okay if I talk about this and get in?
Yeah.
So I get that all the time. And it's people, I go, hey, your kitchen remodel is probably going to be $150,000. Or I give them a bid and they're like, you know what? We decided to wait until prices come down. And I've been hearing that for about 5 years now. And 9 times out of 10, when they wait, they call us up a few years later. And we had one client, their addition at that time was, I think it was $200,000 for a bedroom addition. And they said, okay, we're going to wait till prices come down. And I said, okay, well, let me know when you're ready. And they called us a year and a half later in 2022. And they said, okay, well, we've been hearing prices have come down. Where are we at with this? And I said, for your addition, that was $200,000. It's probably $250,000 right now. And they're like, well, why is that? Lumber's down. I said, yeah, well, lumber of your $250,000 project, lumber's only, $15,000. So yeah, lumber went down from $15,000 to $12,000, but the reality is people think that materials are a big part of this project, and materials certainly did increase during 2020 and they stabilized in 2022. They didn't really go back down to pre-pandemic levels. They kind of flattened out, but materials are like, 20% of a job. And people are like, well, where's the other 80%? And the other 80% is, labor, subcontractors, overhead, $6 a gallon gas, right? That's where the other 80% is. And if you just go to the grocery store, you see it in your bill, everything's more and more expensive. I can tell you right now, if 80% of your project is labor and subcontractors, we have a huge labor shortage in the trades. Skilled plumbers are charging, if they have their own business, they're charging over $100 an hour, $150 an hour. And they know that people are going to pay it because there's only so many of them. There's only so many contractors in town. And the reality is those wages keep going up, and they should be going up. I think that the skilled trades were underpaid for a long time personally, and they should keep going up. So the basis of that statement was like right now is the cheapest, because I think what we're going to see is huge increases in labor costs in the next 2-3 years, even more so, where our average kitchen remodel right now is $150,000. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up to $200,000 in the next 3 years. And I just built a pool at our house, or Heather and I, we built a pool. And I've been through this experience. We hired a contractor, we did all that. And, at the end of the day, I only have so many more summers with my kids swimming, right? And so I could wait and cross my fingers and hope the prices are going to come down, but then I missed out one more summer with my kids. And so you're going to do it, something you want to do, like you can't get that time back. And so I always tell people, if this is something you want and you hate this kitchen, you hated it forever, and you can't host Thanksgiving in it, well, how many more Thanksgivings are you going to have? Those are things that are intangible.
I mean, that's a really compelling story with that.
For sure. And we all know, having lived through the pandemic, is we don't know what's going to happen that's going to change all of our lives and our economy and everything. I mean, it's just constantly in flux. And labor needs to go up. No one can afford to live. So it's hard.
I mean, we pay our carpenters, starting out, if you come to us with very little or no experience, you're coming in at, high 20s an hour. And if you're skilled, you have a lot of experience, right? You're making 6 figures probably as a carpenter. So,
but that's just base wage.
Yeah.
Right.
To create a survivable, decent quality of living for someone who works hard now. That's where we need to be.
What about medical? What about retirement?
Right.
Sure.
And so many contractors or subcontractors when you talk to some of them who are like, oh, I've been doing this so long, or I don't really have a retirement strategy. Yes. It's because everything constantly had to go back out because it was under, the wages were being suppressed for so long that, a plumber really is only valuable until they can't physically be a plumber anymore. And then they never had a way to leave the industry. Or if, some of them, even one locally, was like, I'm paying all these, an electrician that I'm close with. He's just, I'm literally helping them pay for school to get people into this now, because we were taught for years, no one wants to do this. We all want to do service-based jobs and sit at computers and be in offices. And no one wants to do this type of physical work, or no one wants to be involved in trades. And it's so true that you see that all across the country. Everybody has a freaking PhD and a master's degree in communications.
But no one can do anything.
But no job, but also making, $50,000 a year if they're lucky at a desk, and they're not happy with it, or they don't like it, and they've kind of avoided trades for so long, and that's what a shame.
I have a lot of friends with teenagers, and I was going to ask, do you see more education or the ability to apprentice? Is that becoming more common? Because we desperately need more skilled tradespeople.
Heather, maybe you can share. We do have 4 carpenters on staff, so we have our own construction company within a company. But Heather, maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah,
and how we develop.
Yeah, both Steve and I are really passionate in that, and wanting to not only see this as an opportunity, because to your point, Shaun, that was kind of a stigma. I felt like when we were in school, that wasn't like a profession that you were going somewhere if you did that after high school. And so seeing more of local contractors and GCs and specialty trades going into schools and recruiting and having these build competitions, and just showing that this is an option, showing that there is this other career path that you could go into, that if college isn't for you, that this is something you want to work with your hands. And there's a ton of education, I feel like, that's out there, more so than I would say 20 years ago, that this is an option, but it's not going to meet the demand of the people that are leaving the field. There's going to be this huge bubble where we do not have that. And so, we're constantly putting it out there. Our kids are little, but our kids are already like, when do I get to go work for TCI, right? My 5-year-old's ready to go swing a hammer. And I just think it's putting that out there and seeing what is possible, and telling youth and getting the teenagers on the summers to come pick up trash. And, you get an exposure, but you're not going to be the guy that picks up trash every summer. Next summer, you're the guy that's doing this. So it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It is. And I hope that the trade schools start improving. I have a good friend who's in the Bay Area, and when she has teenage sons, and they were touring this really cool trade school that had this amazing like construction educational program where the kids were just learning even the tech side of the construction industry. And she was like, okay, like where can he sign up? And they're like, oh, there's a 4-year wait list or something because there's just not enough educational opportunities. So I don't know. Something's gotta happen.
But I think it's not an overnight change. And I think that's why I say that right now is the cheapest it's going to be until we get the workforce up. Because what we're seeing is a more and more increased housing demand and an aging housing stock that, a lot of our houses in the country were built between, 1960 and 1980. You have this huge housing stock that's turning over. You have more and more population growth. You have less and less people to do the work. So it's natural that this stuff's going to cost more and more money. It's not all about materials. So, if you're on the fence, if you have clients on the fence about remodeling, like you hear it from the source, it's going to get more and more expensive. We're seeing just flat across the board, 8 to 10% inflation per year. 10% on a $300,000 renovation, it can go from 300 to 330 within a span of months. So, I would just, that's where that comes from. It was kind of a triggering statement because it does trigger a lot of people. I got a lot of backlash on that. It's true.
We'll link the article that was in Business of Home in our notes because it was really helpful the way you guys laid that out.
I don't want it to sound like we're like screaming into the void about it. I think just for designers, don't lose hope. Like there's still a lot of work out there. There's still that happening. But I think a lot of the frustration we get is when we're literally talking to the wrong person about this. Like we're talking to the client who says, I have 10K for a bathroom remodel. The frustration comes when we are like trying to force it to work or convince them to make it work. And I've joked before about how I don't want to be the first phone call. Like I'd rather they have Googled, researched, called to 2 other designers or contractors or whatever. And then they call me finally at the end of all that and say, now that I'm aligned and I've decided that I'm ready and I want to do it, now I finally feel like I'm on board. It's so painful. And I think we hear a lot from designers who are going through that pain because they're literally just talking to the wrong person about the wrong project from the beginning. And their pain of telling them it's never going to get cheaper, it will be more expensive is because
sometimes they have the money.
They just don't want to part with it.
Yeah, they just are just waiting it out because they think they're riding the market. So I think that back to putting our design or our sales hats on, that's like understanding and being able to communicate kind of just what the state of the world looks like and
well, I think
talking about that with some knowledge.
I think what we see, what's changed in the industry in the last 5 years is social media has been really great, but it's also really kind of diluted people's perceptions of what their house should look like. And, the example I give is if you look at our website, you look at our social media, we have beautiful homes and these are very expensive projects. And it's just your feed on Instagram is just completely saturated with $200,000 kitchens and $4 million homes. Yeah. And you just get this and I can't afford it. It is a lot in this stuff, right? And I think it's important to take design elements and put them into your project. But the problem is people go, I want my kitchen to look like this. And I'm like, that's a $300,000 kitchen. There's $100,000 in just cabinets in this kitchen. And nobody's putting price tags on this stuff. You just see so much of it. And you just assume that everyone has stuff like this. And so what 10, 15 years ago, kind of joke that, every house built in 2006 was like all travertine throughout. There was one paint color and all the cabinets were maple, raised panel and black granite in the kitchen. And that's it, right? Mm-hmm. Every room didn't have a different tile scheme and niches and, edge detail and stuff. And so all this cool design stuff, I love it, but it's also increased these project costs a lot and it's made our projects beautiful. But just keep in mind that it doesn't mean that there aren't $10,000 kitchen or $10,000 bathrooms out there. You can do a bathroom for $10,000. It's just probably not going to need an interior designer. It's going to be, prefab shower enclosure and a Lowe's, $200 vanity. But the issue is all this design information is so accessible and so saturating for people's, what they see that a lot of times we're the bearer of bad news that, what these projects actually cost. One example was we had a client come to our office about 2 weeks ago. They had all the plans done for a 9,000 square foot house, 8,000 square foot house. They had all the plans done. They spent $50,000 on plans. It's in permitting. They already own the land and they wanted us to give them a bid. Well, like that's not our process, number one. Number two, I sat down with them. What's your budget for this house? And they said it was $2.5 million. $2.5 million sounds like a ton of money. I don't have $2.5 million spent on a house. But for an 8,000 foot house, it came out to $300 something a square foot. And I'm like, this house is probably $500 a square foot. Where's the other $1.5 million going to come from? You're $1.5 million short on this house. And I was the first contractor they talked to. And like you said, Shaun, I don't want to be the first. And I just kind of watched their faces sink. And you cannot build this house. You can talk to any contractor. You cannot build for this price. And I said, what are you going to do if you can't do that? And they said, well, probably going to sell the land and just go a different route. I referred them to 3 other contractors. I said, talk to these guys. But they wasted $50,000. And I hate seeing that. And I wish I'd been brought in earlier in that process to help navigate this of, a different direction. But that's why we also want to be the last contractor to talk to.
And maybe they don't need 8,000 square feet. I mean,
there's a whole, but then you got to go back and redesign it and go through permitting again. So,
their plans are done. No, that totally sucks.
Yeah.
But whoa.
Or we're the killer of dreams.
No, but even one of my architects, I can design whatever you want, but you won't be able to build it. And he's I'm not in the business of creating something that will never be built. That's not fun for me. I don't want to do that. And he's even told clients on calls, I'll happily take your money for that. You will not be able to build it for the numbers that you gave. Like he's really trying to hardline with stuff. Just, you told me a number. And if you told, like the last one, he was like, if you told me that there's now suddenly $1 million that you came up with that I didn't know about before, let's keep talking. And then they're like, no, that's not the case. He's like, all right, back to where we were designing with, I'm trying to aim at $400 a square foot for this remodel that you're working on. He's trying to really keep it aligned, but people will go wild, and say, oh, well, we have $2.5 million. We must be able to get something like that. But it just gets out of line really fast. And I know that no designer is out there trying, or I should say most designers, 99% aren't trying to go out there and design something that will never get built. They don't want to frustrate a client either. They don't want to annoy a contractor either. They don't want to do that. We're just really misaligned. And I know that you guys are involved a lot in your community and in professional groups where you're trying to have these conversations and discussions. Can you tell us about some of those and how they're helping with that sort of broader discussion about projects and clients?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is like the collaboration process and finding, number one, like we talked about, designers that want to partner, want to work with you. We always love it, like Steve mentioned, when we're brought in and we kind of get a chance to kind of talk about what the goals are with the client. And, we might get some questions from the design side of, hey, we really want to make sure that, this kitchen has symmetry. Can we take that wall out? We'll go cut into it. We'll see. No, there's no post there. You could take that out. So when we get to have that, we like that. And then it gives us a chance to execute on the design side when we go to build and understanding where the designer's coming from. I think some of that's a lot of relationships. It's going back to that relationship with designers. And, we know what we're going to go build and we kind of understand the vision that a designer wants or the architect's looking for. I think a lot of it's putting yourself out there to network, right? Where, like Steve mentioned, he's in NARI and being involved not only in understanding, our own industry, but sub-trades and partnering with our sub-trades and really putting yourself out there for kind of those like really harsh conversations where sometimes it's, hey, let's talk about this design. And I think that partnering really makes it easier. So for everybody, when we go to build, we're really are that team.
Yeah, I'm a local NARI chapter, National Association for Remodeling. And a lot of the contractors, I think people realize that we're all kind of the good contractors. We're all of us are friends. We talk, right? And we did you get that client, the Smith client? And we talk about this stuff all the time. But I'm all about making the industry better. So, Heather and I, we haven't been doing residential construction for 20 years. We were in commercial construction for 15 years before this. And in that industry, we're part of the Builders Exchange and we're at different events. And it was very collaborative in a lot of ways with other commercial contractors at a high level. When we came to residential, we're like, this is pretty disjointed. Everyone just seems to, keep their chips close to them and there's no collaboration. Nobody wants to work with designers. And so when we came in, we started trying to shake things up a little bit and let's get the younger contractors together. Let's all talk. Let's figure out how to implement our processes. I've sent out our pre-construction proposal to probably 4 different contractors in town. Here's how we do it. Here's our proposal. And I've actually seen it come back to me, my own proposal from the client in a weird circular way, because they're kind of copy and pasting the same terms we have. So my goal is to make the industry better, at least in Sacramento, through, more education, more awareness, more collaboration. And I think that's kind of where we've gotten a lot of traction in our business, just through collaboration and not, isolating ourselves.
That's awesome. And you guys have a kind of, I don't remember what you called it, but it's almost like a mastermind with other construction companies all over the country, right? Am I explaining that right?
Yeah. So we belong to a group called Remodelers Advantage. And so we have a group of about 10 to 12 remodelers, contractors that meet 2 times a year. And we're all throughout the United States in non-competing markets. And we meet, we deep dive into our financials, really kind of look at our process overall, gives us a chance to step back from our businesses and look at it from a higher elevation, and also hold each other accountable for things that we want to implement in our business and where we're taking things and direction and growth and those kind of things. So really acts as an advisory board, also gives us a pulse on kind of what's going on in other markets. We have other groups that are also in California, and we have other contractors that are on the East Coast. So what's everybody seeing? What, is it just a barometer in our region? Is it, throughout? So it's been a really key piece of our business. We've been involved for about 4 years now. And it's a great opportunity for us to see other contractors and how they operate, but also a chance for us 2 times a year to get away for a week and really focus on our business.
Yeah. If we're seeing a slowdown in things, let's say, oh man, we have really slow May and June, we talk to our group, and it's sometimes what we're seeing is nationwide, or is it just, so what can we do each week? And so some ideas of always being able to pivot and have that board to lean on.
Yeah, we're constantly telling designers to do that within their own communities and find their own designer besties, or I have another group of designers that we have a little mini mastermind with locally, and we can be really open and transparent with each other, whether it's, this is a specific situation I'm going through, or, hey, somebody texted me today, I'm looking for a towel vendor. We just can help each other. And when we're on our own, we're all small, independent business owners. We totally need that. So again, designers, find friends. You don't have to compete.
So one of the last things we want to know is, what does the future look like for either Heather and Steve, and Heather and Steve with Tankersley Construction?
I think you might get different answers from each of us, but I'll start. And Heather and I, we have young kids, and the reason why I have this business is to really be family focused for us and our employees. As our company's grown, we've grown extremely fast, but we've kept family in focus, and I'm really proud of that. I think, I don't think we're going to see the extreme growth we've seen in the last 5 years, but, we still want to keep growing. We recently hired an operations manager who's going to be starting very soon and kind of help us take some more outside directional approach to the business. And so our project's average size is going to continue to increase. Probably we only do 12 to 15 projects a year. We're pretty small on that, but we do really high quality projects. We're going to keep doing that. Heather and I both kind of want to, step out of the day-to-day of the business if we can, more and more as time goes on. So as our kids get older, we can go to more of those sports and stuff too. So I don't see us growing to this massive company or, expanding to other markets or anything. Just really keep doing a good job where we're at. We like building really cool projects for cool people. That's really what it comes down to. What do you think, Heather?
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to build the business so that it can operate without Heather and Steve, but still we could be a part of it, but not the people that have to, make sure all the pieces and parts come together. So that's the goal, and really building from inside our team up. I'm super excited with the people that we have on the team and their growth opportunity. And I think that's really what we're trying to create, and being able to, increase their salaries and, 401k and bonuses. And that's kind of our piece of, we didn't build a business just for us. It works out that we get to have the hours that we want, but we also want to genuinely help the people that come in and work in this organization and work for us. And so we love that aspect of it. And so I want to continue to give those people more opportunities to grow. And so sometimes you have to step out of the way so somebody has an opportunity to grow. I think that's the big overarching goal for us in the next, probably less than 5 years. Long term, I don't know. I don't know where we'll end up. I mean, Steve doesn't sit still, so I'm sure we'll be on some other big adventure soon. But, I've been really getting involved more with women in residential construction. And so that's been kind of a passion project for me. So I don't know, maybe more along those lines.
I love to teach at Sac State, teach a construction management class. I'd love to. There's things I want to do, right? I want to make our industry in Sacramento better. And I want to make residential construction in particular better and serve on the board and area directors more and be moved to national level. So Heather and I are both kind of passionate about doing things outside of our business. Our business is like a vessel to do things we are passionate about. And so we got to get the business running, more on its own and focus more on these things we want to do, like really growing other people professionally.
More leadership. I love that.
I want to thank you guys both so much for being on the show. And if you could tell our listeners where they should follow you and find you.
Well, Heather and I are both pretty active on this Instagram. So we both run our own page, really candid on the stories, try to go on there daily and talk about what we're doing. So Instagram is really the most active thing we're on, but also obviously House and Facebook and our website.
And we will put links to Tankersley Construction for your Instagram and your website in our show notes for the hotties who are listening. They can find you there. And thank you both for being so generous and open about your process and your steps and how to make our projects better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Stay hot, designers.
Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.
Hey, Shaun, I don't know about you, but Pinterest has been on my to-do list of I got to figure out how to use it again for literally years.
It's definitely one of those things that if you've just been using it as a brain dump location, you're not using it right.
Yeah, Pinterest is not just for inspo anymore, although that's still there. It can be super strategic and actually get you new clients.
Yes. So we're sort of reframing the thought process around Pinterest with our very first Hottie Homeroom course, Pinterest for Interior Designers Masterclass.
It's a 2-parter, so you get both sessions for the same price. And if you can catch the live session, we recommend it. Otherwise, it's going to be recorded and available to watch on your own. But you also get 2 workbooks that really are going to show you the step-by-step of everything we talk about.
Yes, and we've partnered with our Pinterest expert, Leah Reinert, and she's really power-packed the courses so that way you can optimize everything that you're doing to make Pinterest work for you to drive new traffic and help generate more leads for your business.
You're not just listening to us talk about blah, blah, blah. Here's why Pinterest is great. Yes, we have an actual expert who does this day in and day out, and she's going to be showing us all the details and how-tos.
Yep, you got it. How to find trends, how to put them in captions to get people to read them. And probably the best part for me was realizing that Pinterest pins stay active for months, sometimes years longer than what the Instagram algorithm does.
And you don't have to show up and show your face like you do on Instagram. I know some of you don't want to do that. So it's a way to get yourself out there without getting yourself out there.
Exactly. So head to shop.hotyoungdesignersclub.com and learn more about our Pinterest for Interior Designers Masterclass.
See you there, hotties.